Beloved Creator of all that is and ever will be, we are here to express gratitude for family and the inherent instinct to preserve it. For all of its challenges and tribulations, family bonds and binds us to one another like nothing else can. Our assembly is an example of a family, a tribe, not bound by blood nor by blood oath, but by trust and love. Blood is in the tangible, visible realm. Trust is in the unseen. We bleed and can prove life by its visibility. Bloodlines run strong and are the genetic ties that bind many. Blood tests prove parentage and familial bonds. Trust is more precarious and must be tested, but still remains on the ethereal. There's no slide one can slip under a microscope to survey in testing trust. Trust requires integrity and values of reliability and honesty. Trust and its nature felt by one is engendered in the other, thereby developing into a mutual feeling of companionship and support because it is about the other. It's that feeling of, I've got your back. One not even needs to feel love to trust another, though they do often meld into one. We acknowledge that the realm of human emotion is in the unseen, the spiritual, the domain of creation and of the creation itself, so that when we work together in our service to other, we are feeling the gifts of love and trust, and in so doing, we are trusting our Creator and entrusting our path to that divine source that binds and bonds us together in service to that which is much greater than oneself. It is then the family of mankind into which we merge and emerge as one. Let it be so, and so it is.
Thank you, Charlie.
My pleasure.
Amen to that. My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. Charlie and I were talking about an idea, and the idea is family. And it came to mind today for me that this family thing is super important, and everybody has the issue to deal with at a different level, but it's all there. And we have to figure a way to work this out. I have a brother. He's a twin, not of me, but of Dennis. He's 73. He's in Texas. He's a petroleum oil retired executive millionaire. How's that? A real for real Texas oil man. And we haven't been close. It seems my family's not close, but we haven't been close. But we've started talking in the last year. And I sent him the document for the support of the Texas governor. He's in Houston. It's important to him. And while I was at it, I sent him the document for service to the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And he sent me back one sentence. He says, "Do you really believe in this BS?" And I thought, okay, I have to overcome this unreasonable objection that my brother has to the truth. Because I'm not saying anything but the truth. And you guys all know what it is. We know chapter and verse on the fraud that has been done to us. And we know about cognitive dissonance and the Stockholm syndrome. But I have to communicate that to my brother. So I wrote an email, and I thought that was pretty good. And then I thought, okay, everybody's got a brother, father, mother, sister. We've all got family we're dealing with in the same way. And so I sent it out to 400 of you, 400 plus actually. And then I called up Charlie and we talked, and she agreed. And she just said a fabulous prayer for us. So I was wondering if you guys would like to share how you're dealing with family that's reluctant to take action, because we're all on the action committee. We're all committed to actually doing this. We're in the 3%. And we have all of this family that's not there, and they should be. So, how do we deal with this? And anybody?
I'll start.
Good. I
I'll
yield.
yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ron. Good setup. So I'm not going to mention the position in the family or any of that, but it runs true for um, pretty much everyone in my family, my children, spouse, and beyond. I have certainly been vocal about my beliefs, my perceptions, and what I have learned to be true about the state of things and what's happening with all the transgender and eugenics and all of that. And I'm really stand alone in my family. And so the way that I've gotten through it, especially because my whole life has been dedicated to searching, researching, and seeking the truth. And it's really literally been my whole life. I wasn't so involved in seeing what was going on at the time I was raising my children, but because I was busy changing diapers and driving them to school and carpooling and laundry and all of that. But came back to it and recognized that this world is really not what it appears to be. And I am in a situation, the best way to get along with my family, and we all love each other dearly, and we all share the the caring that we have. We get together regularly. We communicate regularly. There's an underlying love between us in our family. However, we don't talk about any of these issues. So that puts me to this family, our assembly, which is my family of, um, I'm able to speak and share my ideas and things that I'm concerned about, and we wrestle with it amongst ourselves because it's a safe harbor, if I can use an admiralty term. um, so those that I love most dearly around me and my family just don't see what I see. And so where it takes me is that we each live in our own world. We create our world in terms of our perceptions, and how we manifest that world is our perceptions, what we believe to be true and how we see it. And so with that, I'll yield.
Thank you, boss. You got more to say, I know. You'll get back soon, I hope. Cynthia
Hey,
has a ton. I know. Go ahead. I know Laura has a sister.
Okay, so I have a lot of family, both Glenn and I do. For the most part, our family is conservative, but they've been taken in by the same deception and lies that the rest of our nation and the world has, and that's one of being amused and living life not in what I call truth and reality. And years ago, I began to speak to my children about certain aspects. When my son became a deputy sheriff, I told him, you were not cut out to be like this. They are a good old boys club. They are not what they appear to be. Now, I knew nothing about what I was really talking about, other than the fact that I knew it inside of my spirit, that, and it proved to be true for him, and he struggled. My daughter-in-law is a teacher. Years ago, we began to tell her about the education system. She didn't like that. She thought that we were full of shit. She got very angry with us because we basically said that she'd been brainwashed. And I told her, I said, considering that we went through university close to the same time, I learned the same or similar things that you did. And I'm here to tell you that most of the stuff that they were teaching us was not true. And I knew it then. So that's number two. And I can go on and on down the line with the warnings that I've given over the years to my children and the rest of my family that's brought us to this point now. And the good news about this is that they're more interested today than they've ever been, but they still have children at home. And I have found that people that have children at home, like Charlie said a while ago, they're more focused on taking care of their children. Unfortunately, we live in a society that tells us that, our children have to be busy 24 hours a day, and then they deserve a break. And when that break comes, they're on computers and they're playing games and they're zoning out, which really they're not zoning out. They're being trained by our government to do and act in certain ways through the games that they're doing, which I also told my family. So I'm like everybody else. When I joined the Jural Assembly, my family was pretty upset and they were pretty angry with me because they thought I was going to end up imprisoned from it. And I had to really stand my ground and tell them that the Lord had spoke to me and this was my assignment, and that this is what's coming to our nation and to the world, and that if we do not stand up and stop it, that the evil will overtake everything. And they wanted to move out of state, and I said, you cannot outrun evil. Evil will follow. If you don't stop it, it's going to follow. And that's for our state as well as our nation and the world. And so we're in the crunch time now, and I make more sense to people now than ever before. And I just deal with my family by telling them the truth. I'm very careful about what I say to them because I don't want to fight with them. Like Charlie, I don't want to fight with them. But at the same time, there's certain things that I am released to speak to them in truth and in love. And I really do try to do it in truth and love. So I carry the message of my family, the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, into my biological family, and praying that they will join and that they will find the truth and recognize it for what it is, because their very lives depend upon it. And that is really the essence of this, is that their lives depend upon it. I would willingly give up. I will fight to do what's right alongside of the Jural Assembly. If that's what it takes to bring the freedom that's necessary for the rest of our people, the persons on the land. Anyway, I yield.
Thank you, Cynthia. Laura, William, Brandon, would you guys step up? I know you got family to talk about.
I'll speak up.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura.
Back in 2020, I was working in the medical field, and I was watching the situation that I was very close to New York City. So I was watching the situation there and trying to understand what was going on. I was following the whole uh, situation of what this illness was that was coming across into our country, and it did not make sense. Something did not make sense. I didn't know what quite it was that didn't make sense, but in following it, I was reminded that I had been through other scares in the past, for Ebola, for one thing, and what we had to do to get through that, the protocol that was placed in the laboratory where I worked. And it was major protocol, major. And all of a sudden, this illness is major, and there's no real protocol, just along the lines of micro specimens to test for it, but nothing else. And that was not the case in the past. So I was wondering as I was wondering what was going on, I did more research, and I had a friend that supplied me with a couple of different links that started me off for my research, because what it did, it took me out of that realm of medical and put me into the world of what was really behind it. And that was the whole agenda 2030, 21, and now there's a 2050. And I was shocked. I was shocked. I went through a lot of uh, times where I had to settle myself down based on what I was seeing and hearing. A lot of also what was coming up was that it was being told that what we were taught was a lie, all of it, history, it was all a lie. And that doesn't sit well with me. So I want to find out what the truth is. I want to find the truth. So my job ended because of the illness. The contract ended, and I came home to Oregon. And my sister lives in Oregon, and I'm telling her what I'm learning. And we were being censored at that time. This censoring was going on, that the truth was being censored, and it was going to other platforms. So I shared with her links to listen in to what I was hearing so that it might trigger her to wake up to what was going on. And all she could tell me, I don't have time to look at this. I don't have time to look at that. It's an hour long, blah, blah, blah. Give me your points, put it down in bullet points as to what you heard. And that I was so against that, because her perception is important for her as my perception is important for me. And so I shared to her and told her, don't take that, don't take what they're giving us for the answer. She argued with me many, many times. I argued back many, many times. And she finally, bottom line, being told me she's taking care of her own health. Thank you very much. So I watched her on Facebook to ascertain her health, because she in the past has been very vocal about this and that going on with her. And I'm glad to say she's still with us, but I don't have a clue as to what's going on in her body. She's taken 4 of them, and very proud of it, very proud of it. And probably this year went for the next round of whatever was offered. It's for her health. So I can't talk to her because she thinks that I belong in a mental hospital, and I don't get her anywhere close to me because I don't trust her anymore, even though she is a sister. Um, there's very little love in my family, and I really got to see that. And so I have friends that are more sisters to me and share that love than I have ever since leaving home. So I continue to search for the truth, follow what is going on so that I am aware of the progress being made in the world because we can't see it. And there's no proof. And that is trust, like Charlie said, a lot of trust. Does it feel right? And the answer I have is yes. And if there's something that doesn't feel right, I look for something else. So I'm after truth. The being a part of the Jural really means a lot to me because I feel like I can fight the system together with you all because together we can win this. And I want to bring back our rights, for one thing, our country, for another. We have a lot we're going to be going through. It's coming to a head. There's a lot of chaos, but knowing who I am sustains me and keeping me able to uh, stay in a higher vibration because I'm not going to go into woe is me. This is our life. Um, it was said that we're all supposed to be here right now. We're all supposed to be doing what we're doing. So I just will continue following that path. Um, and I'm glad to have the opportunity within the Jural to take part and be of service. And that's pretty much it. I'm running out of what to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So, William or Brandon?
All right, I'll go.
Good. Thank you, Brandon.
Sure. So I don't have that big of a family. In fact, I grew up with just my mom, and I had extended family like aunts and uncles and cousins. Don't really associate with them much as they live on Florida, and we don't really communicate very often. If I go back to Florida, I see them and hang out with them and enjoy my time. Uh, Good. I think I would say that by now, most of my family has woken up and understands what's going on. But my extended family is of the mindset that uh, the powers that be are the powers that be, and we are to keep our head down as either Christians or just for the safety of our unity within our tight knit family to keep from any sort of backlash or trouble that that basically whatever their plan is not able to be hindered, and they will not stand up and do anything because it's better to just have faith that things will work out the way they will work out and not to cause any trouble. My mom, on the other hand, I brought up to her attention back around the start of COVID that there was things going on that she's not aware of, and that the actors and singers and all the people that she may have at one point either idolized or thought highly of were not who she thought she was. And I used Tom Hanks as an example. And so she went down the rabbit hole, and now she is just stuck on the whole hopium and Q theory that there's going to be a team, a network of people that are here to save us, and we don't need to do anything else. That is going to be sufficient to solve all our problems. So while she's aware that I'm a part of the Jural Assembly and I've sent her things, she is happy just continuing on the path of listening to other sources, telling her that things are going to be looking up. And her husband have their own YouTube channel where they also are trying to share what they're hearing as just another avenue, which is good, that they're doing something or feel like they're doing something towards helping other people to find a place for hope and for some potential for a change. So I don't have any brothers or sisters, and I don't have anybody else that I really associate with much. I rarely talk to my mom or extended family, so I pretty much just keep to myself. It makes it a little bit easier in regards to having any sort of disputes. Or anyway, that's all I've got really as far as family and the question. I yield.
Thank you, Brandon.
you,
Charlie's
Brent.
got a hand up.
Yeah, I just, Ron, I just wanted you to do your little, what were you saw? It's saying that you say that we have to do it ourselves. Would you say that 3-part? We can't do it alone. Go ahead.
You have to do it for yourself. No one can do it for you, and you cannot do it alone.
Thank you.
I yield.
Go, William.
Yeah, it's hard to add anything too much more to what everybody else has already said. I have a large family that's younger than me. Most of the older people are either passed away or stuck in a minimized world because of their age. The older ones I've talked to, they've a little bit. I don't say too much to them about some of this stuff, but certain things like the reality of World War II. We actually lost that war to the Germans. I said that to my father, which is about 25 years older than me, so that makes him about 80. He admitted that he knew that we had lost that war. We're a German family also on top of that, but he knew that. But these people, they see it as they go along through their years, but they don't see any way of changing anything as we go. And that's kind of how we've gotten to this point where everybody kind of sees it, but then they're like busy with their life, or maybe our this world that we live in keeps us so busy that we cannot step out of it even long enough to put in our part to make that change. I try to raise my kids and my grandkids to look and say, well, wait a second here, maybe that person's wrong, in an authority thing. So I kind of raise them to be what most people would call rebellious. I don't know if it's really rebellious or open-minded about the fact that some people could be wrong, right, in authority figure status. When I talk to my kids these days, some of them are actually rebellious against me. Some of them, I've gone over many subjects to find the truth about health, about our government, about the history of what's happened, how we got here, about the Bible. And I've found key little truths inside all that stuff that's gotten me to where I'm at. If I say these things to my kids, some of them, they'll just like, haha, joke around. Oh yeah, he believes that, but it's not like being mean or nothing. And then other ones will listen to everything that I say and, be respectful towards me. And then they just go on with whatever the hell they're doing. Just out of respect, they'll do that. But these people are so busy and preoccupied with so much, especially today compared to when we all grew up back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Some of us even more earlier than that. But there was no internet, so there was no way of it's hard to get their attention at this point because there's just so much stuff. So as I talk to them, I try to be very respectful to them also. I, refer to the Bible a lot. In my mind, when I talk to these people, the subject of don't stumble your brother. So, potentially if you just feed them some of this truth, a little bit of it, not a whole bunch because they can't fit it all in, right? Maybe they'll take that into their mind somewhere and then finally come out later somehow down the road when they get, triggered or whatever on some subject that's happening in the world, they'll think back and go, oh yeah, Dad said that one thing. Maybe he was right about that. So I'm just trying to be easy going with any of these subjects, to not harm the progress going forward, and then of course not have my family completely rebel against me and never talk to me again. I've heard a lot of people have their family members just cut them off, so I'm trying to be very cautious with that. I don't know if there's too much more to say. I rest, I guess.
Thank you, William. Appreciate it. Ron had to step away, and Brandon, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I had a thought when this conversation came up when I jumped on here, that, Williams brought up a good point about the kids, and I mean, they're distracted. And I don't know if you guys have ever read or listened to Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, but that was a book that was written well before its time. It was very controversial in its time, and I mean, even to the point that nobody published it. But it goes into very great detail with regards to the distractions of society, and how Satan uses those tools to keep people from ever doing anything, really, even with their own lives purposefully. And my thought process, or my thought was that, more important than the people that are like elderly within our own family and stuff, is shaping really the future generations that are coming up, because they're the ones that are going to be suffering if they're not aware, or aren't understanding that it's important for us to not just know, but to take action going forward, because they're going to be the ones left with the leftovers, whatever we were or were not able to accomplish. And so, but William, like he was talking about, I mean, he's got firsthand experience with the younger generations, and with all the distractions, it's hard. I mean, and they're still even rebelling or hear something somewhere else, and they feel like maybe the people that they're closest to aren't telling them the truth, so they don't know what to believe either. So I think those are the biggest objectives with regards to us assisting generations going forward in being able to continue doing what we're doing. Because even once we've accomplished our goal, or it'll never be finished. It still has to be continued to be protected. I yield.
Thank you, Brandon. As each of us shares, other thoughts come up, and for me, I can say that I kind of did an generalized overview of my family response to or situation relative to my perspective versus theirs. But actually, one of my children is caught between my more conservative perspective, which actually is a years in the making, because I didn't start out that way. And my whole family is really very devout or dedicated to their Democratic ties, or I should say the party, liberal. However, one of my children is caught in between me and the rest of the family perspective. So, it is not just one way or the other. And her perspective has grown closer to mine with all of the societal things, and having had a young child that she's trying to protect from the wiles of the governance in our school system and the health perspective, and really the ownership of our children in the conventional school system, and all that brings with it, including an interest in pronouns and all of the things that are not what we grew up with and didn't really have to consider or think of. So it's not all one way, and everyone has their own issues to deal with, whether it's just a social compact within the family, like Ron and I were talking, where we simply have challenges within our family. And I have friends who are there, not even going to the political or societal differences in perspective. It's just that their family dynamic doesn't allow for them to be on the same page. And two of my friends feel very isolated from their family, and purposefully so, and it's very painful. As an only child myself, and like Brandon, I don't have siblings, but I do have children, and they have their children. And I've certainly broached these issues with them, as well as my husband and my ex-husband, as I've gone along. And there's just a point where we cannot share anymore. And I prefer love and peace in my family. And so this family, like I said earlier, is my family of choice, that I get to enjoy conversations and do things that I feel are making a difference for those who are not on the same page, but are going to benefit from our actions as an assembly and as caring, awake, very aware, and hopefully productive, meaningful, beyond service to self, but service to others activities. So I would say if anyone has anything more they want to share, speak up. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for being here and sharing your personal stories. I think it all matters when we can share and open this up to a greater audience. Go ahead, Laura.
I love what everybody has said. I was reflecting back a couple days ago, looking at life, and we have all had to figure out a way to travel life and cope with what's going on, what our governments decide for us, what we need to do for ourselves, and we set our goals and we walk to meet them. You mentioned a book, Brandon, and so this came up in my mind, is that one of the best books I ever read was The Road Less Traveled. And I kind of can see my life like that, where I was not one that gave in. I did in the beginning. I call it my rebellious phase, and got into a detour from, but I didn't know it then, but looking at it, I detoured away from what my soul plan was. And I got through that. I learned the lessons. I got rid of the baggage. I worked very hard to do that, and came out freer and more clear as who I am. I have, when I hear the word hopium, I kind of like, oh my God, without hope, what do we have? Well, we have the world that they're giving us. Everything's negative, everything is down. Um, Everything is, it has to be their way. You're going to have nothing and you're going to be happy. Do you believe it? I don't. The thing is that from the research I have done, I'm glad that there's hopium, because I do know that, yes, as Ron says, that we have to do it ourselves, but we have to do it together. I forget how you put it, Ron. But the thing is that it's true. We have to stand up. I've been watching the what's going on in Texas for the last 3 days. Fascinating to see this, truckers coming in. I had a thought that they were going to line their trucks up against the border, but that's not what's going to happen. So what is going to come from it has yet to be seen, except that there were thousands and thousands of truckers and cars and people gathering together to save our borders. So that is a congregation of people and peaceful, very loving. It's phenomenal. Um, but what does that do? We have yet to see. We have yet to see. But I do know that, yes, we have to do this ourselves. We have to do it local. because the help that we are going to get is not going to be down to the local level, I think. I hope they are going to the local level because I need help here. But I think with what is coming, and most of the problem has been with the mainstream news, they keep lying, and that's what people hear and believe in because why would we? We mistrust it. So when the truth does show up, and it will, these people are going to have trouble, and they're supposed to be coming to us for help. We'll see, but we're going to be there to offer help. And it is service to others instead of service to self. And the whole country has gotten more basically into the me. Remember that from a generation? Me generation, they called it. So anyway, we're in interesting times, and it's all going to be changing. It is changing as we speak. It's not coming fast enough for all of us, but it is coming. I yield.
Thank you. Brandon, do you want to go ahead? And then I'd like to do a closing prayer when we're done.
Yes, I just wanted to say I never use hopium as a negative. I think it's a positive. Just for the record. And in addition to that, me and Laura were actually having a conversation on the phone a couple days ago, and we had a thought that it would be so great, since those guys down in Texas don't really know what they're doing down there, if they would sure travel to Oregon, get an LTA written, and then come along with us to show up wherever we need them to, so that we can determine whether or not the people who are supposed to be taking
Brandon, you've dropped out. Can you get closer to the speaker?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's weird.
Of course it is, because I've
There
got
you
a
go.
great idea.
There you go.
Better?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So we were just discussing, and since those truckers don't really have much of a, that we know of, a resolution in mind as to what they're doing down there, it sure would be nice if somebody that we knew, that knew somebody that was at the head or towards the head of that group, could let them know to go ahead and make their way to Oregon after they're done playing around in Texas, since we've done the work here already. Have them all sign LTAs according to their states or whatever, and have them set up that, whatever we can do, and then have them assist us with the numbers that they have by lining up their trucks around wherever it is that we need them to line them up at, so that we can then determine whether or not they're going to respond to the people, take a proper oath, or what are they going to do. I yield.
Thank you, Brandon. Are we done, Ron, or should I go ahead and give the prayer?
I think a closing prayer would be really good. And I'm sorry I had to take a few minutes off in the middle. Thank you, guys.
It's all right. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for sharing their heart and their personal story. It really matters. I think that others can hear our own travails, and the fact that we've joined together gives us joy. So we are charged with great responsibility, and we take it seriously. We challenge others, beloved Creator, in high positions to do the same when they fail to question or acknowledge the damage their decisions and actions have done and are doing to so many who blindly trust and entrust their very lives to them. We do it for our children. We do it for all the children. We stand firm in support of the people. We stand firm in our faith that goodness and truth will prevail. We speak out and we shine our light and our love in the name of all that is good and righteous. Let it be so, and so it is.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you,
Amen.
everyone.
Amen.
Amen.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. And then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead with his hands in the air, and I thought, I swear to God, He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead. And then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.